What is up, gamers? Today we are going to be looking at the Nintendo 64. If you've always wanted to own a Nintendo 64 but didn't know how to start or where to start, then this video is for you. The Nintendo 64 launched back in September 1996, and gamers could not wait to play the next evolution of Nintendo. The N64 continued its use of game cartridges, much like the Super Nintendo, to stop game piracy. At this time, the industry was moving towards the new format of CDs, as they could store more data. However, CDs were more prone to game piracy. The original PlayStation was prone to game piracy when gamers found out they could mod chip the PlayStation to read burnt CDs. However, despite the ever-growing game piracy on the PlayStation, it did not stop Sony PlayStation from becoming #1 in the console wars. Much like the Super Nintendo, the N64 had a power switch and reset button. However, the game-changing features for the N64 were its 4 controller ports, truly a first of its kind, alongside the new controller. Man, how cool is this? Literally every time I see this controller, it reminds me of the X-Wing. To many gamers, this controller was a love-hate relationship. Despite taking some time to get used to, the controller just worked. It could literally handle any game you threw at it. The power adapter was also a game changer, as the power brick was now attached to the console rather than having to find room for it separately. The N64 also uses the same cables as the Super Nintendo with AVI, so be aware if you're using a new HD TV and it doesn't have AVI, you'll probably need to get an AVI to HDMI converter to connect your retro consoles to modern TV screens. So looking at buying the actual console itself, these are the things to look at for the most. Number 1. This is the most important item to check first, and that is the insert game slot. If this ain't clean or shows any signs of rust or grime, literally just walk away. Just be like a Mega Man and get the hell out of there. I don't care if the outer shell is in mint condition, the insert game slot is the most important item in the 64, as it's responsible for reading your game cartridges. You could have the cleanest, most mint condition game ever, but if that slot ain't clean, it's not going to read your game properly. Number 2. Most N64 bundles cost around $120 Australian, with a power cable, 1 controller, and hopefully a game, but it's best to make sure that it also comes with the jumper pack. The jumper pack is necessary for the N64 to actually boot the system. If this is not in the system, it will not boot at all. Therefore, you could probably ask a few $30 or $20 off the actual asking price. However, that being said, there is a new expansion pack. The expansion pack is actually an add-on accessory. It pretty much doubles the system's RAM and helps the graphical enhancement on certain games. You'll need this if you're wanting to play the must-have games on the N64, such as Donkey Kong Country, Perfect Dark, and The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, to name a few. Number 3. Check that the 64 controller stick has not worn out. If this controller stick is not like this, then try to reduce the price if you can, as you can always get replacement part to swap out the old with the new. Number 4. Memory cards. Some games unfortunately require the use of memory cards to save your game data. as not every game has a built-in saving file like Super Mario 64 or even The Legend of Zelda. Some games that require a memory card are Perfect Dark, Super International Superstar Soccer, just to name a few. Number 5. Accessories. This is not a must, but to get the most experience out of your games, you most likely want to get yourself a Rumble Pack, which doesn't cost that much. It is such a great add-on to the controller, and it doesn't require any batteries. Beware, in order to use the Rumble Pack, you will have to remove the memory card slot from the controller to work. Some games which are a complete joy to use is GoldenEye, 007, Perfect Dark, Legend of Zelda and Star Fox Light Wars. With all that out of the way, let's talk about games. Here's a quick list of games to get you started and to help you explore some of the game genres that came out for the N64. Mario 64 is such a great game to play, and it's probably the most easiest game to get into if you're just getting started. Mario Kart 64 continues the great racing game from Super Nintendo and is such a great multiplayer game to have. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is the most AAA title game of all time and still holds up to this day. The storyline and characters makes for such an amazing game of adventure and exploration. International Superstar Soccer. International Superstar Soccer is an arcade soccer game that doesn't take itself too seriously like a FIFA game. The fun arcade mechanics makes this sporting game of soccer a real treat to play. Perfect Dark. If you like first-person shooters, Perfect Dark, much like GoldenEye 007, are the best games on the 64, offering hours of gameplay. Star Fox. Lastly, Star Fox 64. Star Fox 64 is a shoot-'em-up game with a great story and gameplay that makes you want to play to the end and defeat the evil boss. I hope this video has helped out in any way. Please thumbs up if you liked it or subscribe if you loved it. Until next time, keep drawing, keep gaming, and have a great week.